Good morning and welcome to your Financial Empower Hour. This is Jason Cryderman with my awesome host, Mr. Tony Shore. As my listeners and viewers probably already know, if you've listened more than once or twice, Tony and I sit in different studios. When we record the show on Monday mornings and then it airs the following Sunday, Tony sits over in Minneapolis, Minnesota area, and here I am in my office of Midland, Michigan. And so Tony and I usually try to take the first 5 or 10 minutes and catch up with what's been going on in our personal lives, our family, our weekends, a little bit about the business. And then we jump right into the second and third and fourth segments of our show on the topics we want to talk about. So appreciate all our listeners and viewers always sticking with us through the first 5 or 10 minutes, just kind of listening to Tony and I catch up from what was going on the last couple of weeks with families. And speaking of that, Tony, how's everything been going with you? I know we didn't record last week. You had some time off. And So what's been going on over there across the pond?
Well, across the pond, yeah.
That pond we're talking about is Lake Michigan, by the way. So
yeah, exactly, across Lake Michigan. Well, things have been great, Jason. We've had great weather here, so that's nice. And you know that you've had some pretty good weather there yourself.
Beautiful weather, yep.
Yeah. So I've finished my screened-in porch patio. I call it a catio. It was initially it was just going to be a little catio for the cats. We could open the window and they could go out there and be outside. But I did the full deck floor and made a screened-in porch, and we were sitting in that most of the weekend enjoying that one. I'll tell you.
Well, speaking of my viewers and my listeners, I'm a viewer of Mr. Tony Shore. I'm a follower of him on a social media page or outlet called Facebook. And I saw Tony Shore had a post yesterday of this catio. Now, for my viewers and listeners, it's probably been, Tony, I don't know, 6 months ago, you told me that your wife had this idea to make a catio, which you were telling me was a patio outside of a window. Basically, just open the window up, and it was I'll call it a small to medium-sized box outside the window or door for the cats to get outside a little bit and experience. Well, when I saw your post on Facebook yesterday, man, that was no little box. That was like you went all out, man. Like that was a full 3-season room. I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah, it's a full screen-in porch that we can enjoy as well, because I got to I got to thinking of how to build it, and I looked at it's underneath our existing patio that comes out, and I'm like, well, I'll just make a floor like that so we can stand on it. And then I'm like, well, wait, I want to make sure we can go in there and get them out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want it big enough for us to go in. And then I'm like, well, if I'm going to do that, I'm just going to make a screened-in patio for us as well. And boy, I'm glad I did. It's awesome. I mean, you saw the video. Yeah,
it looks awesome. So if there's any of my viewers or listeners, if any of you have cats at home or any type of other animals, or or you want to do this for yourself, it's pretty cool. Follow Tony Shore on Facebook, look him up on his page, and take a look at that video he posted yesterday. And it's of his catio and him and his wife, where you can hear the birds chirping and the cats are kind of walking around, laying there, looking around, and it's so cool. And I'm thinking, man, the genius in that mind to create that, think about that. That's pretty cool, man. So I appreciate you posting that, and I wanted to make sure I did let you know. It did, because I think it was 6 or 8 months ago you told me that your wife had these ideas. She wanted you to build one, and here you are. You finally got it finished, man. Congratulations.
Got it done. It was a lot of hard work, Jason. Let me tell you. How have you been? What have you been up to? Have you built anything recently?
So I haven't done any building recently. I've done a lot of cleaning around the house and the yard and the shed and my barn. I do have one of my best friends, Ricky, has been working at my house. He is doing some rebuilding for me of one of our sheds. But this past weekend, we had the LPGA golf tournament in town. It was the Dow Championship.
The Dow
Country Club. Yeah. And so last year, Carson and I, we went down. We took a couple days and we went and watched some of the golf. And then he had said over the last year, he had said, Dad, I'd like to volunteer. I'd like to, how do you be a caddy, and how do you hold that sign, and how do you do these things on the course? And
sure.
So I told him, hey, there's opportunities, bud. Let me look into it. So I did that over the summer. I got in touch with it's at the Midland Country Club and the Dow that puts it on their whole. It's Dow Chemical, but they have a whole division that puts up with the volunteers and sets everything up. And so anyhow, long story short, Carson caddied on Wednesday for the Pro-Am. He had an
Wow.
awesome day. Had a great time. It was extremely hot that day. It was like into the mid to high 80s, no wind. So he had a very hot day out there on the course, but he really enjoyed it, had a great time. And then I volunteered on Thursday and Friday, and I was what they call a standard bearer. And what a standard bearer is when you're watching golf and you watch the golfers walk up the fairway, and behind them, here comes a guy or a girl carrying a sign, and that sign has the golfer's name on it and a score, if they're +2 or -3. So that sign that is being carried up and down the course, every hole behind each group of golfers, that's called a standard bearer. And so that's what I did. I volunteered Thursday morning and Friday morning. So I got to walk the course and met some really cool ladies, some really nice ladies, really extremely good golfers.
Yeah.
It's amazing when you watch golf on TV, and especially when you watch women compared to men. Like the men, they swing harder. They're really muscular. Well, I'm telling you, Tony, when you get to watch these women, especially up close and personal, they are effortless. It is amazing how smooth and how clean and effortless they are, and how awesome they are. Like their ball goes it goes just as farther than a lot of the men I know. It's so perfect, so pure. It was really a cool
Some of them
experience.
could have even beaten you at golf.
Oh, 100% of all of them. The caddies, the sign bearers, half the crowd. Absolutely, Tony. That is not a joke, my man. That is serious.
I think that's neat that you did that. You carried the sign. Now, did you have to change the score?
I did. Yep. So, you wear a little apron.
It's a lot of pressure.
It is. Now you do actually, so I will let people know you have an official scorer there with you that's keeping track of every shot on her little iPad, or it's like a phone,
that's
actually.
good.
She's keeping track of were they on the fairway, off the fairway, on the green, in the rough, in the sand. And then so she kind of, but I have to be paying attention as well. And then I would have little numbers in an apron I was wearing, little plastic numbers, and they were red on one side and black on the other. So if it was, you were under par, you put up the red. If it was over par, you put up the black. So I didn't have to worry about pluses or minuses. But it was once they got off the green, those girls and caddies, they book it. They're off to the next tee box and they hit their shots. And once the fourth person hits that tee shot, they're all gone. So you don't have a lot of time to monkey around with those numbers. So it was a pretty cool experience for both Carson and I. I can't hear you.
That's neat that Carson got to do that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And he got to do the Pro-Am. And so on that day, I actually went and I walked hole 14 through 19 with him just to kind of see how he was doing and hang out. And it was a cool experience. And then as we're finishing up his hole, he says, "Hey, Dad, do you know there's two guys here I'd like to get my picture taken with?" And I'm thinking it's me, right? And apparently it's not me. I said, "Well, Tony Shore's not here, bud." So it wasn't you and I, Tony. It wasn't you and I.
Shoot.
So he says, "Well, Darren McCarty, who used to play for the Detroit Red Wings, was here golfing, and Calvin Johnson, Megatron, who used to play for the Detroit Lions." So sure enough, I said, "Well, where do you think they are, Carson?" Well, we walk up to the next hole, and there they are. And there's only a couple people around, and I just have to say, "Hey, Darren, Mr. McCarty, Jason Cryderman, longtime hockey player, longtime follower. When you get it, would you mind a picture taken?" He come running over, grabbed a hold of Carson, grabbed a hold of me. Some lady grabbed my phone, took an awesome picture. He was really cool, laughing and joking. And then we followed them up the fairway. And after they got off the green and they're approaching the next tee box, we asked Mr. Johnson, Calvin Johnson, "Megatron, would you mind taking a quick picture with us?" So that was a really cool experience. Both Carson and I got our pictures taken with Darren McCarty, Calvin Johnson, and great day, great week, great weather.
That's cool. Calvin Johnson.
Really
wow. Yeah. Megatron. That's awesome. That's really cool. I bet Carson was loving that.
Oh yeah. He was super, super ecstatic, super, super excited. Now cool. on Thursday morning, there was a special Dow by invitation only breakfast. And one of the speakers in there was Barry Sanders, the one and only Barry Sanders. And so Carson he was coming there that day with his buddy to watch the the golf tournament. They brought up some Barry Sanders paraphernalia, hats and t-shirts, thinking maybe we'd get a chance to see him on the course after the meeting or some kind of autograph or photo session. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but we still got our pictures taken with Darren McCarty and Calvin Johnson, and it was a great weekend.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds like fun. Well, hey, we need to take a quick break, but let's give away some copies of your book. Own Your Retirement, right? Or Empower Your Retirement, I should say.
Yep.
Own it and empower it. But the book is called Empower Your Retirement. And Jason, you wrote this book. It's packed full of great information. Listeners, all you have to do is be one of the next 10 people to contact the offices at Great Lakes Investment Advisors. The phone number is 989-835-7203. That's 989-835-7203. And we're going to be right back to talk about what to do when the markets and life throws you a curveball after this. And you're listening to your Financial Empower Hour. I'm your co-host, Tony Shore. I'm here with our host, the man with the plan, as always, is Jason Cryderman. Jason, great to be here with you again today. Let's talk about the markets. We've had some ups and downs, with the Iran war and oil. Yeah. We'll see if that levels out. The markets kind of had a big sell-off right before this big new SpaceX IPO. People are asking about Skylink and all of that with Elon Musk companies going public. And so people kind of tend to get emotional and maybe make some rash decisions, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when we talk, beginning of the year, and we did a show. Today's going to be, I guess, the topic or title of the show is around, hey, when life or the market throws you curveballs, what do you do? How do you react? And
yeah,
I relate back to, and you and I were talking before the show, Tony, about when we had a show at the end of last year, beginning of this year, talking about New Year's resolutions, and whether they be for health or wealth or financial or spiritual, whatever it might be, but you set it out at the beginning of the year, and we have a game plan. We had a goal, right? We said, here's what we want to do for our New Year's resolutions or our goals for 2026. And if you remember, Tony, you and I talked a lot about review where you are in your plan, review what outside influences have come into play and either positively or negatively impacted your plan. And then don't be afraid to adjust your goals or your plan, right? So here we are sitting, we're sitting here recording in mid-June. We've obviously seen some volatility this year. March, when the Middle East crisis started. And of course, the market corrected itself pretty quickly, pretty severely on the downward trend. Now, a lot of people at that point in time might have just kind of threw up their hands, right? Threw down their cards and said, well, I wanted to invest more this year. I wanted to earn more this year. I wanted to, whatever it was. And they might have just threw in the towel and said, well, the market threw me a curveball. That threw my plan, my goals, my resolutions right out the window. Or if you were really dedicated and faithful and open and honest to yourself, you simply step back, take a look at what's going on. Hey, did I fail in my mission because of my doings? That's where you might have a problem. And if you thought maybe you failed because it wasn't because of your doings, it was because the market was volatile, and that's okay. So maybe we adjust our plan. Maybe at that point in time, we say, hey, here's an opportunity to actually invest a little more than I thought I was going to, because now the market's down. I'm able to buy lower, and we're supposed to buy low, sell high. But it's definitely, hopefully you didn't panic and throw in the cards and say, that's it. I'm bailing out. I'm not going to invest, right? I'm out of this game, and my plan didn't work out. My resolution, I'll try again next year. So, no different than if something like that, Tony, happened in your health, if maybe gaining weight or losing weight or going back to the gym or whatever it was, if that was part of the resolution and you didn't quite stick to it on your own terms, well, still don't quit, don't give up, reassess what the heck happened. And maybe I was too hard on myself. Maybe I was going for too much too fast, right? So reassess, reevaluate, but stick to it. Rebuild another game plan, another goal, or another objective. And so life's no different. We talk about this whole Elon Musk and SpaceX, and the market had a little more volatility last week before SpaceX goes, has their IPO, their public offering. I had seen some memes again on Facebook, and some things, I don't know if they're true or not. I know the Catio the catio with Tony Shore in it and his wife on Sunday. That catio was real. Okay, that was not AI. That was not fake news.
Yeah.
That was real stuff. So
Oh yeah,
I appreciate sharing that with me and my viewers and listeners, Tony.
sure.
But you got to be careful what you see and hear on TV,
Yep.
on radio, on Facebook, right, on all this stuff. But I did see something over the weekend that the IPO of SpaceLink made Elon Musk the first billionaire to trillionaire. Billionaire to trillionaire. The first
Yep.
one ever in the world.
He's a trillionaire. now.
Trillionaire. And it happened overnight like that. And it also made most
Crazy.
I don't know if it was what the number was, but a very high number of employees of SpaceX automatic millionaires the minute they had that IPO.
Janitors.
Even-
Janitors
yep,
and custodians and receptionists even at
Yep.
that level, because they one of their benefits was stock was
Right,
options.
stock options. Yeah.
Yeah, so they made out quite well.
Yeah. Now, again, some of that's, and I would think all of it's true, right? But we don't know. But
Sure.
again, my answer is when people say, "Oh, Elon Musk a trillionaire and all these janitors became," who cares?
Right.
Who cares? Does that SpaceX IPO offering, Elon Musk becoming a trillionaire, or janitors becoming millionaires, does that have anything to do with you and your personal portfolio? You and your goals, your plans, your objectives, anything? No. So don't let it derail you. Actually, a really good talk with a friend of my buddy of mine over the weekend, and he said, "Well, that's it. Elon Musk and the IPO and the SpaceX going to take over the market. My portfolios, I'm changing my plans." I'm thinking, how can you let one outside influence like that derail your whole plan and your whole objective? Now, is it a good time to review? Absolutely. Is it a good time to revisit and maybe revamp or change your plans a little bit? Absolutely. But it's no reason at all to jump ship or panic with the volatility before the IPO. The market had a sell-off. That's no reason to panic. If we planned and prepared properly in our portfolio and our investments, that's not going to devastate us anyhow. And it's actually a great opportunity. Crisis creates opportunity. And so when the market had a sell-off and a correction, what a great opportunity to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to revisit. And matter of fact, I'm going to double down. I'm going to put a little more in. I'm going to buy a little more. I'm going to invest a little more. Because the market was down. So, that's kind of, as you and I talked, Tony, those curveballs, right? Life throws you curveballs, whether it's in the market. But I tell this to my family, my kids. I help coach Carson's travel baseball team. I say this to them all the time. You focus on and control the controllables that you could control.
Right.
You focus on and control the controllables that you can control. You can't control if the ump calls a strike that you think was at your eyes, or if the ump calls a strike that you think was a foot outside, or if you think you were safe and the ump called you out. You can't control that. You can control how you act, your attitude. You can control if you swing at the pitches or you don't swing. You can control. So we need to focus on and control the controllables that we can control. We can't control the cards that we're dealt every day, but we sure can control how we deal with them.
Yeah.
We can't control the stock market every day, but we sure can control how we invest. With our goals and our objectives, when we talked at the beginning of the year about our New Year's resolutions, there's a lot of variables you can't control. But I promise you, Tony, you, me, all my viewers and listeners, we can control the effort we put in to be successful. Or if we weren't as successful, we can definitely control how we reacted and the effort we put in after we realized, oh, I'm ahead of my goals, or I'm behind. I'm not on track. Well, you should be focusing on and controlling the controllables that you can control.
Yeah. Control the controllables. What you can't control, don't worry about it.
That's right.
In other words, you can't really worry about what Elon Musk is doing, or the SpaceX or Starlink IPOs are
That's
doing.
absolutely right.
That you need to focus on your situation and avoiding costly mistakes. And I think the best way to do that is to work with a trusted financial services professional. And Jason, I know you love hearing from our listeners and viewers, and I know you and the team there at Great Lakes have helped so many people in our community with this. Now, I want our listeners to be able to experience that or get their questions answered, our listeners and viewers. So call in and set up a no charge, no obligation consultation. I know, Jason, you're offering a no charge consultation.
That's right.
All they have to do is call in and set it up, or go online and schedule a time. Again, there's no charge. There's no obligation. Get your questions answered. Get a plan in place. That number is 989-835-7203. Again, set up that no charge consultation, 989-835-7203. And the web address is greatlakesinvestmentadvisors.com. That's greatlakesinvestmentadvisors.com. And you're listening to your Financial Empower Hour. I'm your co-host, Tony Shore. Here with us, hosting the man himself, Jason Cryderman, the greatest standard bearer ever known, ever to walk the course, Jason Cryderman. He is our standard bearer when it comes to finances, and that's what we're doing today. We're talking about how to deal with curveballs, and that first lesson you gave is perfect. Only worry about what you can control. And speaking of that, and you alluded to this, and that is, you actually alluded to it to me personally before the show. And our listeners and viewers don't need to know about, well, should I invest in this IPO? Should I pull money out and sell all my positions and buy into SpaceX? When can I do that? You don't need to worry about that if you're a client of Jason's in Great Lakes, because, Jason, you work alongside the team at Gradient Investments, and their senior portfolio managers have been on top of this thing. They know what's going on. They're paying attention. So our listeners and viewers don't have to worry about it. If you have actively managed accounts, they're already making those decisions for you behind the scenes, and they are experts, and they manage over $10 billion in assets, and your assets are part of that if you have assets under management through Jason and his team. So if you have that type of plan set up, and Jason has you allocated and can say, okay, you've got this much in investments for retirement, you're going to have this bucket of money over here, you're going to have this bucket of money here. Maybe you've got Social Security. Maybe we've got you in tax-free options like a Roth IRA or cash value life insurance. And then you have investments. And the key is a strategy here. So control what you can control, but leave some of it up to the experts, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's right. Control what you can control. Don't dwell on a lot of time and effort and energy on things you can't control.
Yep.
And work with good teams, right? Whether it be a good CPA, a good attorney, a good financial advisor, a fiduciary financial professional like myself or another member of my team, and then have professional money managers. That's what they do every day, in and out. We call it in the trenches. And I've had them on my show a lot. We had Tyler on. I've had Mike Binger on. I have Keith Gangle on. I've had almost every single one of the portfolio managers at Gradient Investments on my show as a guest. And the reason I like to do that is so my viewers and listeners can get to hear firsthand from the team behind me, from those financial experts, that's all they do every day of the week is they research. They have teams behind them, employees behind them that research and buy and sell and trade and manage portfolios. And they manage your risk exposure to certain sectors. They manage your risk exposure to certain countries or certain products or certain companies. Like, gee, should I take $10,000 and invest in this new IPO, this Starlink, this SpaceX? Should I do this? Well, if you're a do-it-yourselfer, I mean, go ahead, but how do you know when? How do you know how much is too much? How do you know how much is too little? If things, generally most IPOs start up on a very high incline, and then pretty soon after that, they take a dip, and then they kind of figure out their ups and downs, and they ride themselves out through the future of that company. But the beginning is usually up. Closely comes after that is a down. and then see how things go. So, but as a do-it-yourselfer, how do you know how much? How do you know when? How do you know when is time to double down and put in more versus put on the brakes versus, and as you mentioned, Tony, that's exactly why I entrust in a team called Gradient Investments. That's exactly what they do. They have teams upon teams of employees in the trenches that do all the research. They do all the trades. They know exactly when and how much to either be in or be out. And so that's very powerful when we talk about diversifying a portfolio, especially so you can be comfortable and confident. Number one, are you ready to retire? Number two, are you going to be happy through a successful retirement? Again, those things you can't control and the more uncertainties, well, the less confident you're going to feel that you're able to retire, and the less happy and comfortable you're going to be through retirement. So you can control the controllables. Don't waste time or spend energy on things you can't control. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, boy, be careful. Yes, be opportunistic, but also be careful. But I can't stress enough, as you mentioned, Tony, work with a fiduciary financial service professional that has a third-party team of money managers that actively manage money. This is not passive money management. This is active money management. And at the end of the day, they're truly looking out for your best interest by law as fiduciaries. Now, having said that, Tony, you and I talked about this a little bit before the show too, is how much should I play with? Right. And I have a lot of clients I manage money for. We call it their monopoly money. They say, hey,
Sure,
shave off 50 grand or 100 grand or 10 grand for me. I want to buy stock. I want to invest in that. I want to do my own thing. I get a rush out of it. But Jason, I don't want to do it with all the money because I really don't know what I'm doing. It's just fun and I might get lucky, but usually when I buy, it goes down and I lose. So I deal with a lot of, I'm sure a lot of my listeners right now are shaking their head. Yep. That's me. Because it's really, really, really hard to do all the research, know all the know-hows, the whens, the whats, the timing of, and actively manage that. It's really hard to do. And so
it is very hard. That's why, all the stats say, every study and survey and the actual data shows that the majority of independent investors who invest on their own end up buying high and selling low.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the
a vast majority, like
and the
80 to 90% of them.
Oh, it's over, I believe, 80 to 85%. You might even be closer in the 90s, where most investors, regular, normal, do-it-themselves, whether you have 100,000 or 5 million, most people that invest by themselves, most of them over time end up buying high, selling low. And what's the number one piece of advice, Tony, you got from probably mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, and whoever told you, maybe it was your first boss when you were 13 years old and had that paper route, whoever it was told you, the easiest way to invest, the way you make money, is we buy low, sell high.
Yep.
What the heck is the hardest thing to do with our money in investing? Buy low, sell high. It is absolutely, hands down, the hardest thing to do is trying to time the market. Well, is it high? Well, is it low? Is it low enough? High? When do I buy? And so it's almost impossible for do-it-themselfers unless you have a strategic plan, like dollar cost averaging helps, but a plan that just says, here's what I'm going to do and when, but more importantly, here's why, because I have this strategy and this plan and all these variables of why I'm doing what I'm doing. And even professional money managers, most mutual fund managers, most hedge fund managers, most REIT managers, even a lot of fiduciary independent money managers like the team at Gradient, they're not right all the time. They do not always buy low, sell high.
Nobody's right all the time.
Tell you that. Yeah, they'll be the first ones to
even
tell you
Warren Buffett isn't right all the time.
100%. And even Elon Musk, right? The world's only trillionaire now. Not right all the time.
He's lost money. Even though he's a trillionaire now, he's made moves that lost money.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't. I think he lost a ton of money when he bought Twitter. I mean,
everybody has. And that's the point. It's okay to lose money. Mm-hmm. Don't let that curveball of losing money derail your whole portfolio, right? Control the controllables. If you lost money, now's the time to take a look at the portfolio and say, well, where did I lose money?
Mm-hmm.
Why did I lose money? How much exposure do I have? And what other exposure might I have to keep losing money in the future? And once you're able to, if you can identify all that on your own, and there's other variables you want to take a look at, great. But if not, that's where you would maybe want to come in and see it, like myself or another member of my team, because we do what's called a portfolio stress test and second opinion. And so as we get into our next segment, Tony, I want to talk more about what is the portfolio stress test and second opinion. How do I initiate relationships with people when I first meet them? And how can I help steer them into a direction where they can do better on their own? Or maybe what does it look like then if we do decide to work together in a client advisor relationship?
Yeah. There you go. Well, and in order to do that, our listeners and viewers need information. They can get that from your book, which is Empower Your Retirement, and they can get a copy. We're going to give away 10 more copies of the book, and they can call in to set up that no-charge consultation to get the book and set up a consultation to get your questions answered and to see about getting that plan in place, getting a strategy in place for your retirement and your retirement income. Call 989-835-7203. That's 989-835-7203, or go to GreatLakesInvestmentAdvisors.com. GreatLakesInvestmentAdvisors.com. And you're listening to Your Financial Empower Hour with our host, Jason Cryderman. I'm your co-host, Tony Shore. Jason, great show so far. What to do when the market and life throws you curveballs. You've talked about not getting obsessed or derailed by the things we cannot control. Mm-hmm. So make sure you're controlling the controllables.
Absolutely.
Secondly, make sure you're working with a trusted financial professional and a team of professionals, as you said, fiduciaries who are looking out for your best interests.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to go it alone. When life throws you curveballs, the worst thing you can do is shut everybody out or feel like, oh, I'm not in a great situation. And don't be ashamed to bring in professionals or talk to people about it. Let your family know what's going on. The more help you have and the more you talk about it with people, the better off you're going to be. It can be hard though sometimes, can it?
Yeah, it really can be, especially if, you think, hey, I've been a do-it-myselfer. I'm really good at what I do. I look at all this money I've been making, and all of a sudden, stock market went down, and I didn't see that coming, or I wasn't prepared, or I thought I made the right moves, but I didn't. Or not only, with our stock and our money, we talked about like New Year's resolutions. If maybe it was had to do with maybe your faith or your I want to save money, or I want to invest money, or I want to do things different in my lifestyle. I want to work out more. I want to lose weight. I want to run more, whatever it might have been. If you're not as successful as you want to be, or you feel like things just aren't going your way, slow down, step back. Don't just throw in the towel, but take a look at it. Take a look and say, what the heck's going on? Why am I not where I want to be? What influences within me or outside of me have impacted these results? And that's a great opportunity to bring somebody in. Find somebody that's in that area that you're concerned about and have them help you. Say, hey, look, here's what I set out to do a week ago or 6 months ago, whatever it was. And here's where I am today. And I'm not sure what went wrong, or I'm not sure how to correct this or get on the right track. I mean, what's your other option, Tony, to just throw in the towel and say, well, I quit?
And
or
try to go it alone. And some people try to go it alone. You don't have to go it alone.
You don't have to.
No, with your finances, why go it alone? You don't have to do that. Jason and his team will help you. And if it's regarding faith, I'm sure there are people at your church or friends and family. If you're going through any type of curveball that life has thrown at you, don't try to handle it alone. Don't be afraid to talk about it. And get help.
Yep. Like you said, if it's a curveball or things just aren't going the way you expected they would, or you feel like it's not a curveball, man, it's a screwball, a knuckleball, a curveball, and the train just hit me square and I'm off the rails. Right. Well, don't go it alone. Don't give up. reach out to somebody. It's amazing the people that are out there, whether they're in your family or out of your family, at your church, wherever it might be, look for help. And that's how I make and engage in most of my most successful and long-lasting relationships, Tony, as you know, through helping people, is I offer a portfolio stress test and second opinion. So what that is people come in and they sit down and see me. They might call me on the telephone. We have a phone conversation, or they go to one of my tax and retirement seminars. Maybe they're a referral from one of their friends or neighbors or family members, or they've listened to you and I, Tony, on the radio show, or maybe they've heard me on the Art Lewis show. But either way, they say, Jason, can you help me, or how can you help me? And the first thing I say, Tony, is I have no clue. I don't know. Let's take a look at where you are first of all. And that's really what you have to. You have to assess your current situation. And so I call it a second opinion and portfolio stress test. Tony, let's call it like an MRI or an X-ray, if you will, but of your money, of everything you're doing in your portfolio. It really digs very deep and analyzes what's going on inside the money. Kind of like if you're something going on under the hood of your car, you hear some noises, some squeaks, some rubbing, some whatever, the light comes on the dash, and you pull it into a mechanic and you say, can you fix it? Well, they don't just throw a part at it. They better not. Most of them say,
Right.
well, let's do some diagnostics. Let's put it on the scanner. Let's figure out what's wrong, first of all, to then tell you what you need to do to fix it, right? So that's exactly what I do for people, Tony, is it's called a portfolio stress test and second opinion. And what it takes a look at is all your current accounts, all your 401ks, your IRAs, your Roths, your whatever it might be, takes a look at your mutual funds, your variable annuities, your stocks, whatever you own inside the portfolio. And it assesses your level of risk exposure to U.S. holdings, international holdings, equities exposure, bond exposure, fee exposure, tax exposure. It takes a look at all these areas and elements of investing money, and it really just spits out the results to us. It's like looking at an X-ray or an MRI. And so I sit down with people, I say, I don't know if I can help you, and I don't know where. First thing we have to do is get a second opinion stress test and take a look at the results of your stress test. At that meeting, I will show you, here's the good areas that popped up, and those are things you want to be very happy and comfortable with. You don't have to do anything different. But here's the areas of concern or the areas of opportunity that we've identified inside your portfolio stress test. Here's the areas that if you choose to do something different, whether it's with me or not, here's the areas you could fix and reduce such risk or problems. And here's the areas you could do different and take advantage of to improve your financial position. And that's the second meeting I have with most of my families, Tony, is let's look at the results of the stress test.
Yeah.
At that meeting, I show them exactly how I could help fix them if they have any potential problems, or the opportunities I could bring to the table, exactly what my risk would be, my return would be, exactly what my fees would be. And I just allow them then to make the decision, gee, are they okay where they're at? Would they like to hire me at this point, or do they just want to go home and think about it? And so I make sure I tell everybody there's absolutely no pressure. If you ever go sit down with somebody, whether it be at the church or the mechanic or your financial advisor, wherever, if you sit down with somebody and they make you feel pressured, like, oh no, you have to do this today. You have to do this with me. We have to do that. That's a sign right there. You may want to step back and take a break, right? That's a bad sign. And I tell everybody, if you've ever feel pressured before, please leave that situation, and you'll never feel pressured here in my office with my team. We want to help you if and when you want and need our help. And if you don't, that's absolutely okay with us. So again, I highly encourage people to get that second opinion, whether, again, Tony, as you mentioned, whether it be in faith or would be in my eating habits or my workout habits or my exercise or my whatever, my with my family or with my finances, is where I have the most powerful impact with my clients. Is, gee, if you're not on track, let's step back and take a look at, with a portfolio stress test and second opinion, what track are you on? First of all, you got to see where you're starting from and help identify where are you starting to drift off track, and how can we help you get back on track?
There you go. Well, and I think that's the key right there. Have a plan. That's how you deal with, the subtitle of your book, Jason. It's, you've got to
plan
hope
for the best,
but prepare for the worst. And preparing for the worst is how you deal with when you get thrown a curveball by life or the market, especially, or finances in general. You've got a plan in place. And if you follow that plan, it can deal with curveballs like rising inflation, market volatility, things like that. And that's the important factor here, is getting that plan put in place. And for our listeners to do that, set up a consultation with Jason Cryderman and his team there at Great Lakes Investment Advisors. I think that's so critical that people do that to get some questions answered at least. And I know it's worth it. All it takes is your time to have a cup of coffee. If you want to work with him moving forward, great. If not, great. But go in there, see what it would take, see where you're at. Take that stress test. And all our listeners have to do in order to do that, Jason, is call 989-835-7203. And if you set up that appointment, Jason will give you a book. If we haven't already sent you one, if you're not one of the lucky people to have gotten one by calling in previously and mailed one out, call 989-835-7203 to set up a consultation. There's no cost for that consultation, no charge, just your time and no obligation. 989-835-7203. And the website is GreatLakesInvestmentAdvisors.com. Again, GreatLakesInvestmentAdvisors.com. And Jason, great show today. How to hit those curveballs. Keep your eye on the ball, right?
That's right. Control the controllables. And I tell Carson, playing baseball, you could control whether you keep your eye on the ball or not. You could control whether you swing at a good or a bad pitch. So control the controllables.
There you go. Well, Jason, great advice. Great advice from Coach Cryderman today. And listeners and viewers, that does it for today's episode of your Financial Empower Hour with our host, Jason Cryderman.